What's up guys, Americana back with another video. Everybody thought I was absolutely insane for bidding Ethereum back in April. But now the exact same setup is back, only on a different chart. This time it's the Russell 2000 priced in the S&P 500 and it just hit macro demand. So let's get into the video. Alright guys, I told you we're going to have plenty of videos talking about the Russell 2000's relationship with the S&P 500. I think you can relate this really to any major index and you're going to see similar things. I just so happen to choose the S&P 500. So let's talk about this chart. Let's talk about the relationship. Let's talk about what we're seeing going on, because as always, I want to make sure you guys actually know and understand what you're looking at. I do think that's important. This is the Russell 2000 price in the S&P 500. I have other videos this week talking about the S&P 500 price in the Russell 2000. What are the differences? It's the exact same chart. It's just going to show inverse. I just think visually this is more appealing, and it sparked my interest, or sparked my kind of curiosity when I saw similar structures and similar. The reason that I was bidding on Ethereum back in April was because I saw its relationship with Bitcoin. The reason why smart money is going to be bidding the Russell 2000 down here is because it looks very similar to setups that historically cause us to get a little pop. And in that little pop, a lot of important things happen in liquidity that, like we've shown when we talk about the relationship between Russell 2000 and crypto, is going to be good for crypto. It's going to be good for the markets in general. So just visually, structurally, what do we have here? Just this kind of rounded out top back into a previous, I'm going to call it a peak. Really think the better definition is trough, but I don't feel like saying trough all the time. So bear market peak, and that's for this chart, not talking about the assets actually within them, just for this ratio that we are looking at. And then you this kind of just roundness, right? You just get, it's even more profound on here. This round top comes in. You do get little pops along the way, but you also see it accelerate towards the bottom, right? Once we got past, this level on Ethereum, right, things started to kind of accelerate, and even up here things started to kind of accelerate. But we see similar things on the above chart as well. The chart up top is actually a quarterly chart, so it's even higher time frame. But we also see us getting back into these same demand levels that also coincide with fib retracements. Coincides a little bit better on this Russell 2000 chart, just to be fully transparent. I think we did kind of act a little bit wonky in here, but we did get to these demand zones. I don't think it's necessary for us to like pop into these zones, especially when the fibs happen to come in a little bit higher, which was a little bit different than what we saw on Ethereum priced in Bitcoin. But being at fibs, being in around near demand areas, and the fact we had the Russell 2000 actually break out and on the monthly time frame, and then in other videos this week you'll see that a lot of things are pointing to Russell 2000 outperforming the S&P 500. So just having that background knowledge. Structurally, we see the same thing, and then also having the background knowledge and the confluence is helping with this trade, to fully admit, right? Now, I do want to point out, on Ethereum, we've got a actually really nice bounce out of here. Ethereum price in Bitcoin. We got back to, November of 2024 prices, or highs, I guess you would call it, right? Areas where the market was euphoric and things like that. I guess that would be right back in there. It's kind of interesting. But my point is, you don't need much of a pop, right, to have fun, for crypto to do well, things like that. I don't think we need to get all the way back up in here for crypto to go insane or do crazy things, or us to have fun in the market, right? I don't think it's necessary. We're talking about trillions of dollars in these stock indexes, and then we're talking about billions down here in crypto. So it's a big difference. You're going to need a lot of liquidity to flow into Ethereum, to pull up your altcoins, to pull all these other things up, because it's not, the same amount of money, versus if we have trillions of dollars floating around and we're adding billions or even another, right? It doesn't really have to have a huge, material impact on the chart to cause things in crypto to really fly. I'm not saying this money is coming into crypto. I'm just saying a little small pop on here could give us plenty on, the crypto charts that we're looking at as well. So are we in an area where we could see things start to bouncing? Do we see, a similar setup that I have used literally within this year to, signal that hey, you should probably start bidding this coin or this index compared to something else? And then also the slew of macro factors that we have that we've talked about. And I'm going to try to wrap it up in one video this week, kind of everything that I'm talking about when it comes to the macro. So if you do have questions, go ahead and watch that as well. But all of these videos kind of tie in together. I think it's beneficial, and what am I trying to say? I think you get more out of it when they kind of all tie in together. I think you're going to learn more lessons and things like that. But I just wanted to hop on here real quick. I thought this was an interesting chart to look at. One more thing, hopefully nobody clicked off the video and penalized the YouTube algorithm. So this is Bitcoin price in the S&P 500. Whenever Bitcoin is going up on this chart, it means it's outperforming the S&P 500. We have periods of chop where things are kind of bouncing back and forth. Crypto will outperform to the upside, underperform to the downside, all these different things, dynamics flip-flopping back and forth. But once we've got this chart to break out, it's signaled that we have some clarity on price action, right? It simply just means you're within a window that you could see things be appreciating, things like that. I know this chart looks completely different. I know you don't have to go point it out in the comments that this chart is not, exactly the same. This is not a massive, pump out of these all-time highs. With that being said, it's also not any different because it got above its all-time highs and it hasn't lost it. So this isn't like my favorite chart, and it's super, super basic. It doesn't really give me any, tight time frames, I guess, or, kind of cast a wide net in a sense. But sometimes that's all you need, and you can actually learn and get a lot from that, right? If you were bearish on crypto, on any of these dips, right? Dip in here. If you were scared, if you were feeling whatever, if you were this, if you were that, and you looked at this chart and you said, hey, we're above this all-time high. We haven't done anything to lose it, right? We haven't, broken any sort of structure, to the downside. We didn't take out this wick. We didn't go bounce back below it. We didn't do any of that. So maybe I probably shouldn't be, I know it's near term, it sucks, right? But I know I'm within the window that something awesome can happen. And currently, we're still within that window. As crappy as it's been, even if price isn't what's called dropping, it's just chopping and moving sideways, and the sentiment, the narrative seem dead, everything just seems dead until the window closes. Okay, you kind of have to be open to the fact that you're leaning more bullish, even when you get dips to range lows and things are scared and stuff like that. If you're within that period, if you're within that window, you shouldn't be scared to be bullish is kind of my point. But hopefully you guys found this one useful. Like I mentioned, everything in these videos tied together this week. Everything. So with that being said, you should probably watch, every video this week. That's why I do it, so you guys get addicted and start watching every video. No, I'm just kidding. But anyways, we will wrap it up here, guys. As always, I really, really, really appreciate y'all. Appreciate the support, comments, new subscribers. Make sure you guys say what's up, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.